Alright, what's going on, man? Cops will be here in 30 seconds. We need that safe open. How's the drill going?
Things not working right. I'm having trouble with it.
What's going on, man? They're coming. What's wrong with the drill? Is it overheating with a bit? What's up?
I'm looking at it. It says you need an internet connection to make it work.
An internet? It's a drill. Why do you need an internet connection? Just turn the drill back on.
I don't know. I didn't make the drill.
The cops are coming.
It says you need to stand in the circle for 15 seconds in the wide open area.
Stand in a circle for better internet connection? Who made this shit?
That's what it says.
All right, show me where the circle is.
Should be a blue circle around you.
All right. All right, is this a good spot?
Yeah, good job. With 15 more seconds and we should be good.
All right. This feels kind of stupid. I'm in the middle of the open. The cops are coming. They're coming, man. I'm surrounded. You gotta finish this.
10 more seconds and it should start.
I'm surrounded on all sides. God damn it. This is fucking stupid. This goddamn thing. Please, open the safe. Safe. It's mid. It's really hard to put into words how disappointing Payday 3 is, so I'm gonna try to do it here. No review copies being sent out before the release should have been a sign of things to come, but I ignored them. I bought the Silver Edition for $70 to play 3 days early, and here's what I think about it. To put it up front right away, this game does many things worse from its predecessor, Payday 2. Many downgrades and many features simply removed. That's what I'll be comparing Payday 3 to, Payday 2. Because when you make a sequel to a game, we expect improvements. We expect you to build on what worked and to fix what didn't. So really, what happened? What happened between Payday 2 and Payday 3? I don't understand. Because after the initial couple hours of playing Payday 3, I was baffled and confused about how these were the same developers that had made Payday 2. I finished the story, if you can really even call it a story, in a little over 5 hours. That's because there were only 8 heists in the entire game, and they are all one-day heists. Payday 2, by comparison, had so much more content. Payday 2 had 12 heists on day 1, and many of those heists were multi-day heists. We have no multi-day heists on launch for Payday 3. When I was doing the story, I kept thinking there must be more content after this because there's no way they would only have 8 simple, mundane, single-day heists on the game on launch. It makes no sense to me because I loved the multi-day heists in Payday 2 on launch. Framing Frame, the Rat Heist. Those are 2 of my favorite heists in the game. So memorable and unique. And now those are just gone forever. Never to come back into Payday 3. Or maybe it's more nefarious than that. It's behind the paywall of DLC and Season Pass, only to come out sometime in the future if you have the Season Pass, or you have to buy the DLC. I certainly hope that's not the case, though. And also, no safe house. I just don't understand why not keep the safe house. I personally love the safe house. Was it really that much of an effort to put the safe house back in Payday 3? It's just another thing to remove because, like why the fuck not? Just... Although we only have 8 maps, they are solid overall, even though they're essentially redesigns from Payday 2. You have the large bank heist, the jewelry store, the penthouse, the art gallery. All the maps are relatively large, however, and they offer lots of different routes and different ways to go about your objective, especially if you're trying to stealth. There isn't going to be just one way to do something, which obviously adds a lot of replayability to all the maps in the overall game. None of these maps are really memorable, however. You remember in the rat heist in Payday 2, you would have to cook meth in the lab and defend the meth lab, and then later in that same heist, you would actually raid the FBI headquarters? That is such an incredible premise for that particular heist, and nothing in Payday 3 really comes close to that kind of uniqueness. The game mechanics for some of these heists can also be painfully stupid at times, which really breaks any immersion you might have in the game. So in order to break into one vault on one particular mission, you have to do these steps in order, okay? You have to drill into a room in order to hack a computer, in order to get a key card, in order to open another room, in order to drill another safe, in order to get a code, in order to gain access to the main safe, and then drill the inner safe inside the main safe. Like, what? Like, what kind of heist is this? It's simply too many steps and a little ridiculous. I don't remember anything being quite that tiered where there's, in order to do one objective, you have to do so many others. I don't remember anything like that in Payday 2. It's a little, not too complicated. Being complicated is not the problem here. It's just kind of mundane tasks over and over again, and they certainly aren't unique. One of the dumbest things I've seen is, you saw from the intro, is you have to stand in specific circles to increase internet connection. That is just so stupid. It doesn't even make sense. It's a bad game mechanic, first off, because you're just a bullet sponge for the AI to shoot at you, because you have to stand in the open for like 30 seconds. But even in the context of the game, I have to stand in these spots to get better internet connection, to restart a drill, or to get a code. It just does not make any sense, even in the context of the game, let alone it being just a bad game mechanic. Speaking of the AI, you have no variety in enemies. You have the cops, and they have like their specials, like their behemoth with like armor on. Like you have your grenaders and stuff, and you have your electricity guys. I forget the names for all these, but you have some variety in them. But in Payday 2, you were fighting gangsters and cartel in some of the missions. And here, for right now, for these 8 heists, it's only going to be against the police. Small variety of enemies, no multi-day heists, no interesting heists themselves, nothing, just kind of 8 kind of box standard heists over and over again. The great thing about multi-day heists is, depending on how you do each day, like if you stealth the first day and the second day, the third day might be different. If you aren't able to stealth the first and second day, the third day might be different. And this changes the actual gameplay of the heist. It adds more variety, it adds more replayability to them. And we just don't have that in Payday 3. This next one is just, I don't even know what to say. There's no voice chat in the game. 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 We have to coordinate between teammates in order to complete heists. There's no voice chat. You know what Payday 2 had? It had a voice chat, because you wanted to coordinate between different people in the heist. And it makes no sense not to have a voice chat. I know the game is cross console now, which is great. You can play, PS5, Xbox, and PC. It adds a lot more players to the player pool. But you need to be able to talk to people. Right now, the only way to talk, at least for PC, is obviously just to enter the chat and to type. But you have to stop playing, hit enter, and then type to your teammates. So you can't talk to people. It's a confusing thing to add. There should be a way to talk to your teammates in a game about coordination. It's kind of ridiculous not to have voice chat in this game. The guns is just a huge disappointment. I mean, just look at this. Look how many guns you had in Payday 2. This is the ones at launch are the ones that don't say DLC or the red markers. So for assault rifles, you had 20 assault rifles alone, let alone the other types of guns. I think it's like 70 plus guns in Payday 2 on launch, okay? And look how many you get in Payday 3. 30, 35, less than half. I do not understand why there aren't more guns. If you couldn't introduce new guns, you could have at least copy and pasted from Payday 2 and just put them in the game anyways. It doesn't make any sense to have this few guns. It feels like, oh, I'm getting all this money to buy these few guns, and you're gonna find some guns you like, but I'd rather have more variety. Give me more guns. I don't want to wait until the DLC comes out to get more guns. Just give me more guns on launch. I don't understand this. Finding games is also so much worse than compared to Payday 2. Okay, in Payday 2, you had a map of heists, okay? So like 20 to 30 heists would come up. You would see all the information you needed, how many people, like what the heist is, how many people are in it, the difficulty, and the status of the game, like if they were already in the game or if they were getting ready in the lobby, and even if they were stealthing it or if they had gone loud, okay? It's a good system, right? So why get rid of it? Now, all you have in Payday 3 is a simple search function, okay? So all you do is put public, put the difficulty, you're already on the heist, and go, okay? So you have no idea if this particular heist on this difficulty is just depopulated. If you want to do a certain heist on overkill, and like the heist sucks, and you don't know about that, you're gonna be searching over and over again trying to find people. And you might not have any idea that nobody's actually playing on that heist. They needed to have some kind of server browser so you could see what actual games were occurring and where people are playing. That way, you're not just sitting at a screen trying to find people when there might not be anybody to find in the first place. Again, they just made it objectively worse for no apparent reason. If you just took that map system, that server browser system, from Payday 2, copy paste directly into Payday 3, I doubt anybody would complain. It worked so well, so just keep the system. Skills are reworked and much more streamlined, like many other things in the game. Skills allow you to customize your character's abilities. Obviously, skills and perks around a play style that you want to play. So if you want to be a stealth guy, you can do that. You can be a hacker. You can just be an aggro guy and just kill everybody if you want to. Nearly half of the skills are now centered around these small boosts you get called Rush, Grit, and Edge. They give you small boosts like 10% extra damage, 10% less damage taken, and speed. But they don't stack, so you can't get like 30% extra damage if you wanted to. And more than half of the skills and perks actually pertain to getting these perks and easier ways to get them and to maintain them over time. Now, just because the skills are tweaked and different doesn't necessarily make them bad, but many of these slots take the place of actual skills and actual perks that we had in Payday 2. If you compare them to Payday 2 directly, overall, there are less skills and less perks, and therefore less customization. In my opinion, I don't prefer this new system of boosts and would rather have more skills and perks and therefore more customization to my playstyle. One streamline element I don't like is concealment. So concealment, how it worked in Payday 2 is basically if you're walking around a bank and you're not in, you don't put your mask on, you're not actually like fighting the guards in the bank, you're trying to stealth it. Concealment is how quickly cameras and guards would notice you, right? Because obviously, if you're in full body armor, you have a minigun and an RPG, you know, on your back or whatever, somebody's going to notice that, right? So the way you do it, concealment works in Payday 2 is if you want to be more concealed, you have to have less like obvious weapons and gear and so on. So, you know, you could have no armor, just a suit on, a couple pistols with like just a silencer. That would lower your concealment to like basically 0. That feature is gone in Payday 3 for some reason, and it makes it like not necessarily worth even specializing in stealth, I would say, because if you were going to go for max concealment in Payday 2, if it did get loud, if you failed the stealth, you would be kind of screwed, okay? You would have like no armor and not the best guns. In Payday 3, that really doesn't factor in. You can go in with a play style and a loadout that's basically guns blazing, and you'll have the same concealment as somebody who's like maxing for stealth. So it really doesn't make too much sense to get rid of concealment. I like that feature. Again, it's just another way of them dumbing down the game for a more casual experience, which is not a bad thing. But something like getting rid of concealment just doesn't make any sense for me, at least. The graphics are slightly better here compared to Payday 2, but Payday has never really marketed itself as like a hyper-realistic graphical game. And personally, I really enjoy the graphical and art style. It's not so realistic. They're not going for that kind of theme. So it works for me. And again, the graphics are slightly better, even if it's not optimized for PC quite yet. Speaking of PC, people have reported lots of problems, freezes, bad connection, stuff like that, glitches. But personally, in the time that I played, I have not seen any of that myself. The game ran perfectly for me on PC. Again, even if it wasn't that well optimized. The combat, it's fantastic. They have improved here from Payday 2 significantly. Every gun packs a real punch and has real impact when you shoot people. The gun customization for the few guns you can actually pick is also great. The more you use a gun, the more parts you actually unlock and the more parts you can install to the gun over time. The AI is also greatly improved in my opinion, constantly maneuvering and flanking, not just playing whack-a-mole essentially behind a piece of cover. It makes combat not as repetitive and even refreshing at times. The movement is also greatly improved from Payday 2. It feels much more fluid and natural and much less boxy. Payday 2, you felt kind of boxy and like not pretty rigid. These are all great improvements, but it's hard to justify these improvements with all the downgrades and simply removed features compared to Payday 2. Even with all these objectively bad decisions, removed features, and streamlined elements, you can still have fun moments here and there in the game. I played every map multiple times, and finally pulling off a stealth of a mission that you tried many times is great. It's very satisfying. That's when the game will be at its best. Playing with friends also makes the overall experience much better, even more so now in Payday 3 you don't have a voice chat. But when is playing with friends not more fun? It's hard to count this as a real positive feature when playing almost any other game with friends would make it a better overall experience. It is hard to justify this game being worth $90 or even $70 for the special editions. $40 is much more appropriate, but you don't get much for your money here, even at $40. So to have this game in this state where there's such little content overall, and to see the season pass and DLC and then microtransactions coming soon is kind of an insult. Maybe after years of DLC and season passes, this game will be great, but I reviewed how it came out on day one. And on day one, it's simply disappointing. DLC and season passes and microtransactions are not an excuse to release half a game. 8 heists and 30 to 35 guns is what a good DLC might look like. But this isn't a good DLC. This is a full game release. Payday 2 was fantastic. I don't know if you could tell, I love Payday, okay? I love Payday 2. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It was a masterpiece even in the early years. But for me, it lost its way, it lost its touch when it turned to heavy DLC whoring and CSGO style crate and key microtransactions. I could barely get myself to play after those elements were introduced. I can't say for certain if monetizing Payday is the reason Payday 3 is in the state that it's in right now, but I can confidently say that lots of microtransactions and season passes are almost never good for any game. Executives know that they can make more money selling half a game with a season pass and microtransactions than selling a full game without any of those. It really pains me to say it, guys, but my final score for Payday 3 on PC is a 5 out of 10. It's an average game, and in my opinion, barely worth the $40 price tag, let alone 70 or 90. That's just an insane amount of money for what you get here. There were some improvements on core game elements from Payday 2 here, but fewer heists, fewer guns, fewer skills, and fewer customization makes it difficult to give Payday 3 a higher score. It's pretty simple, guys. If your sequel game gets worse overall, that's a bad thing, and that's what the score reflects. What you guys should do is just get Game Pass. Okay, I'm not paid by Xbox, but if you get Game Pass Ultimate, I think, for PC, you get Payday 3 and even Starfield for a month for, I think, $15 or $25, something like $15 to $25. Get Game Pass, you can experience both the games for a month, and then you decide. If Payday 3, if I'm wrong, if I'm full of shit and Payday 3 is great, then after Game Pass is over, you can buy the game and you've proven me wrong, okay? And you get to play Starfield. But at least do that so that you don't pay for the full game and then disappointed. Because honestly, one man's trash is another man's treasure. You could love this game. It's not a bad game. It's just an average game and disappointing. That is all. All right, thanks for watching, guys.